Hey guys, in this video I'm going to show you the nutrition package that members get when they first join us on a challenge, okay? So they are going to receive a link in an email with the following package. So in step one, you're going to all this information is actually going to be moved over into a backend for members, but I'm going to show you what is included in the package for them. That way you are familiar with it and you can answer questions, right? So if a client is saying, I don't know how to set up Fit Clients or MyFitnessPal, you know exactly where to direct them to be able to do that, okay? So in the time being, everything's done through Google Drive. It is going to be moved into a back-end platform. And once we move there, it's going to be the same information, but we will do a new video for you on how to access all of that information, okay? So in step one, we're going to have four really important things. So how to set up Fit Clients, okay, to track your progress, how to set up MyFitnessPal to track your food. Then you're going to have the guidelines for success and how to calculate your calories to add into MyFitnessPal. Okay, so I'm going to go into each one of these. Now, this is a spreadsheet which is pretty self-explanatory. Basically, the only thing the client has to do is put their weight into this cell right here, okay? And it's going to spit out the amount of calories they need to be consuming for the next 6 weeks in order to lose their first 10 pounds, okay? So, apologies, this seems to be still working. So I'm just going to put a random weight in here, okay, 150 pounds. And that's going to bring us to 1,397 calories, okay? If they're a male, they're going to be typing it into the male side, okay? And that's going to spit out the amount of calories that they need to eat, as well as the breakdown of macronutrients, okay? Keep in mind that this calorie specification that it's giving them is not a big deficit, okay? We're not big believers in counting calories and reducing calories significantly because, as you've probably already seen in the video from Roger, the idea is we don't want to mess with their metabolism, right? We want to just reduce the amount of calories very, very slightly to put them at a very slight deficit, but not enough for it to wreck their metabolism long term, right? The idea is slow, steady progress will lead to long term change, right? We don't want fast progress that is then going to lead them to a plateau or to gain weight after the 6 weeks because they've decreased their calories so much, okay? So a lot of people, especially women, are going to sometimes freak out because their calories are a lot more than what they were consuming before, and they're of the mentality that they should be eating about 1,200 calories, even less. I mean, you sometimes shocked at some women that eat like 700, 900 calories a day because they're so busy with work. But generally, women eat very little, but they eat the wrong ratios, right? So as soon as you start to introduce more protein into their diet, they start to feel really full, and there's definitely an adjustment stage that has to happen. Women need to, or everybody in general, but I find with women it's more so. They need to let their bodies adjust a little bit so that they don't feel so full the first week. So encourage them, guide them throughout this process. Take it slow. Do your best to increase your protein every single day. Try your best to, by day 3, have perfect macronutrient breakdowns. If your calories are not as high as they should be yet, let's work up to that second week, okay? So it's your job to encourage them throughout this process and tell them, if you're feeling really, really full, it's a sign that your body's just getting used to eating properly, right? Getting used to having to digest a bit more protein and going lower on those carbs, right? Because at the end of the day, those simple carbs are really, really easy to digest, and so they don't make us feel the same fullness as protein would, okay? So that is the calorie calculator. Then we have the guidelines for success, okay? Now this will basically is the idea here is that they're printing this out. they're writing down, what is their why, right? We do a lot of Facebook Lives and stuff like this to guide them towards this. But if your clients don't have a big why behind wanting to look great in a bikini, wanting to be thinner, wanting to lose weight, then they're going to lose motivation very quickly, right? So they need to dig deep and figure out what is their big why. Maybe they never have energy to play with their kids. Maybe they've had a dream of doing a fitness competition. Maybe they've struggled with their weight their whole life and they want to, for the first time of their life, feel confident in their body. Like these deeper meanings are what are going to get your clients out of bed in the morning, right? So it's really important that they fill this stuff out. And again, once we have the member back end, all the stuff they'll be able to fill in that back end, okay? So I'm not going to go through all of this, but basically this is the rundown of the challenge that they are eligible to win a $500 prize to continue on with us should they win the challenge. And of course, in order to win the challenge, they have to be on the Facebook group posting their food, their macros on a daily basis. They have to have put their initial weight measurements and pictures into Fit Clients, okay? They need to have the right macronutrient ratios as well as calories in MyFitnessPal. They need to, obviously stay on track on a weekly basis and go to 3 workouts every single week. Okay. So basically that is this sheet. Okay, it's pretty straightforward. And then the other 2 are basically giving them a rundown how they're going to set up Fit Clients into their phone or onto their computer so that they have easy access, and also how to set up MyFitnessPal and track their food. On this sheet in particular, it will be useful for you to know that there is a video on how to, like, step by step on how to set this up, okay? How to set up the MyFitnessPal account, okay? And also how to add us as a friend, okay? Because unless they've added us as a friend, you're not going to be able to see their profile in order to give them feedback, okay? So make sure that you are going through all of this, okay? Of course, it explains, that they need to be setting 40% protein, 30% fat, 30% carbs, okay? And then there is also the video on how to set it up on their phone and be able to take screenshots of their macros to post on the group. Okay, so if members don't know how to do this and they're confused, you know where to direct them. Okay, awesome. Okay, so we're going to go back out, and then step 3 is going to be how to set goals. Okay, so this is a simple sheet that they can print out or use as a guideline. Again, so once we have the back end, they'll be able to fill it right in there, which will be really, really awesome. And if this would open, that would be great too. Okay, here we go. So set your goals. Okay, so you want to obviously have a date, right? Because goals are nothing unless we have a day that we want to achieve them by, right? Otherwise, we're just going through the motions and never really getting anywhere, right? And then we give them some guidance in terms of, like, we want we want to set SMART goals, right? So specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, timely, and then writing down, why is this goal important, right? Benefits of achieving my goal. And just writing down, what are some of the negative stories that I tell myself? What, are the potential obstacles that might get in the way of achieving those goals? And some strategies that they can use to reach these goals, right? So it's important for them to write some of this stuff down because just becoming aware of some of these things will help in the process, right? If we're not even thinking about, what are the things that are going to stand in my way, then it's really hard to identify those things. But if we've identified them beforehand, then it's easier for us to catch ourselves, right? And say, oh man, like I totally did that again, right? So that it happens less and less, right? The first step is identifying and then being able to make a change once you've identified, okay? So, these are things you can ask your clients, if you know they're having a hard time, ask them what their whys are because this will help you motivate them in class, right? Um, you know, Ask them to form solutions for themselves, right? And that's where how to make new habits stick because often we give clients a lot of information, but it's really, really useful for them to sometimes come up with their own solution to their problems, right? So it's about you asking the right questions of, so you mean, what do you typically do in the morning, right? And they say, I grab a muffin and a coffee, and then maybe your next question is, how does that make you feel? And they say something like, not great. It's just kind of like my go-to. I know I should probably eat better. And you go on with, well, what do you think would be a good solution for you? Given the recipes we've given you, what do you think would be the best solution? And maybe they're like, you know what, I was looking at it and there's some smoothies in there that I'm going to try. And you encourage them to do that, and so that way next time in class, so how are the smoothies going, right? Like, did you implement that? And that it's a conversation starter, but it's also them deciding that they're going to do something, right? Versus you saying, you got to do the smoothies. Smoothies are the way to go, right? Because maybe they prefer to do hard boiled eggs or something, right? Like, that's a simple example, but try to get them to form their own solutions to their problems as well. Okay? All right, so let's move on to step 4, and what and how to eat. Okay, so in the first tab, we have the nutrition guidelines for the challenge, which goes into a little bit more detail, okay, on intermittent fasting, um, examples of a perfect day of macronutrients, what to eat, okay, so foods to choose from, the quality of foods that are best for them to eat, what foods they should remove from their diet to see the best results during the challenge, a sample week of meals, if they're feeling lost and like they can't make their own, menus out. What if you're vegan or vegetarian? Every now and again, we do get vegans and vegetarians that do these challenges. And yes, it is harder for them to meet their protein goals for sure, but it is doable. We actually had one of our 6-week challenge winners, and she was a vegetarian. So it is doable for sure. How much water to drink, which is a really important one. What about cheat meals, cooking methods, drinks and snacks, and eating out tips. Okay, so that's something I'm going to let you guys read through on your own, to familiarize yourself with all of this information. But this is all super important information before you even get to the cookbook. Okay, they need to have the rundown of how like the deeper meaning why they're eating the way they're eating. Okay, and that's going to all be found inside of this manual. Okay, and last but not least, we have the Transformation Challenge cookbook. Which includes lots of breakfast recipes as well as like salads and mains, soups, and some other alternatives and snacks that they can have. Okay, so a lot of times members will get their package and they don't go through the whole thing, and then they're like, well, what should I eat for this and that? Your go-to answer can be, did you check out the cookbook, right? Like, have you tried some of the recipes on there? We really tried our best to make these as simple as possible while still being tasty. There's not a lot of complicated recipes in here. Some of them have more steps than others, so obviously depending on the client, they won't want to make all of these, but one of the things that I do like to suggest to people is to make ahead, right? Like, make a bunch of protein ahead that you can then convert into some of these recipes, right? Like the beef fajitas, for example. I mean, you don't want to just make a portion for one person for one day, right? You want to be thinking long term. so that you have meals for multiple days, multiple meals, right? Lunch, dinner, or dinner becomes lunch kind of thing, okay? And then you can convert things to another meal, okay? Awesome. So that is the breakdown for the nutrition challenge for the challenge. Okay? So familiarize yourself, and if you have any questions about anything, please reach out via the trainer Facebook group. Have a great day.